Hello once again, welcome to your favorite sports show, Sports Pizza. My name is Edwin Onyebolise, thoroughly excited to be here once again. Welcome to the month of December. It's a month of giving, a month of love, a month of happiness, and we'll show you that there's plenty of joy on your favorite sports show. Talking about your sports show, we have a lot in store for you today, from Formula One, where it's going down the wire, in Abu Dhabi, to football, where Chelsea show that they aren't in the title race just as pretenders, but as contenders. And out there in Spain, Barcelona are looking like they have overturned their early form wobbles. Once again, it's your favorite sports show, Sports Pizza, and I do this in company of my homeboy, Bankole Oladuni. You now do it at the end of the show for our tipsters. I will give you the very best of tips on the Tipsters Corner. It's a full package. Fasten your seatbelt. We'll go on a short break. When we return, we'll delve straight into action. Welcome back. It's time to delve into action. Bankole, welcome on board. How you doing?
Edwin, it's good to be here once again. After another round of interesting games, you look at the Premier League shaping up nicely. You also can say the same thing for the La Liga. Also the Serie A. There've been a lot of talks about strikers not finding the back of the net, but all the same, you look at the tactical setup of the Serie A. Like I always preach on this show, it is the league where you see the best of managers. It's the league where you see the best of shapes, structures, and whatever tactical analysis you want to make. So also all the same, it's still nice to be in this business, especially in this period where sports seems to be peaking at the end of the year.
All right, Banky, where do we start? Let's start with the English Premier League. I have English bias today. Let's start with Chelsea. I know Arsenal are currently topping the table, but do you think the last couple of weeks Chelsea have shown that they are not pretenders but contenders, and they should be taken seriously?
Yeah, at the start of the season, I felt they were going to challenge for the title. As a matter of fact, I was as bold enough to say they were going to win it. And you look at Chelsea, you look at this season. Yes, they've had a bit of scattergun approach ever since the new owners have come in, but you can clearly see there's a bit of method to their madness. If you bring in all of the best young talents, at some point you would have a team that will grow together. And in the last 2-3 years, there's a bit of growth that we've seen from this Chelsea side, and they are starting to bear the dividends this season. You see how they took the game to Barcelona a couple of weeks ago. You see how they took the game to Liverpool also at the start of the season. This is a team that clearly has that ability. The maturity might come with experience, and you are starting to see that experience. They've won the Conference League, they've won the Club World Cup, so they already have that winning mentality setting. Just like the manager alluded to, like the only way to get that winning mentality is to win. And when you've won one of the biggest competitions, the Club World Cup, against the European champions PSG, it says something into you. It sends you a message that you can go toe to toe with the best in the world, regardless of your age. And I think with the right luck, because I think they've been unlucky. I don't think their red card issues have been a case of ill discipline. I think there's been a case of just sheer unlucky play, unlucky situations from Chalobah against Brighton, Sanchez against Man United, even Caicedo, against Arsenal. You can see it was not them losing their heads. It was just mistimed tackles, mistakes, and I think if they can just get their luck right, if they can get a favorable run of when I say results, you clearly see them, ready to take advantage if Arsenal slips up.
Still, in the context of potential challengers to Arsenal, there's a certain Manchester City. It's funny that we call City challengers, but the reality is that this iteration of Manchester City have lost their fear factor. Bankole, gone are the days where before City turn up, opponents are already quaking in their boots. Right now, they feel emboldened to attack City because they will always offer you something. How can Pep return them back to that height of their power where unarguably they were the best team, not just in England, but in the world?
I think first things first, it's going to be difficult for him to get them back to that height. Football is in a state where you rely heavily on physicality. And you look at that City side, there's a serious lack of physicality. You look at the game between Chelsea and Arsenal. You look at the game between Arsenal and Sunderland. If you want to go at the best teams in the world, if you want to have a go at them, you have to bully them. Yeah. And Chelsea didn't let Arsenal bully them. Arsenal are one of the biggest bullies, in the league. So when it comes to the physical side of things, Manchester City have looked like they are not up to it. They've looked like they are not up to to the fight. In terms of midfield battles, in terms of area duels. And the best teams tend to win duels all over the pitch. The best teams tend to have duel winners. And for Arsenal, you have Saliba and Gabriel at the back. In midfield, there's a certain Declan Rice. Even up front, Gyökeres does his bits. In winning all of these things. So I think first things first, it has to go down to recruitment. I think the reason we've also seen a decline in City is down to bad recruitment. I don't think they've brought in any players who has gone on to be of significant importance. Yes, aside from Haaland, and we all know what Haaland is. Jeremy Doku, Matheus Nunes was supposed to be a midfielder, now he's an average right back. Nico Gonzalez, all of these guys have not exactly stepped up to the plate. So I think is going to be very difficult. I also don't see Guardiola, sticking around to see if he can actually, take them back to that level. But yeah, for City, the gap between them and Arsenal and Chelsea and perhaps Liverpool might be widening. If they don't, take drastic action.
Talking about Liverpool, is there a way back for them into this title conversation?
This season, I don't think so. He stumbled upon a solution last weekend with Gomez and right back and Szoboszlai at right wing. But I still think at some point you still have the problem of Salah creeping back into this team. You don't all of a sudden become good because you took out Salah. I think the biggest factor for them in that game was the fact that they played West Ham. West Ham have been atrocious. West Ham are not and even with 10 men they still had a goal at Liverpool. They were quite unlucky not to get that equalizer with Bowen. So you look at Liverpool, there's still a lot of problems. Once again, the ugly discussion of Florian Wirtz's best position, the position to get the best out of him. Once again, so you look at all of this. Cody Gakpo is good, but I don't think he's the guy you would want to be shouldering the responsibility, of leading your team's attack. Isak has looked out of it. Ekitike also, he started the season well, but he has lacked. I think not faded off, but the opportunity to consolidate on his performances have not exactly been, coming by for him. With Isak also, getting into the mix. So I think there are too many problems for Arne Slot, and is stuck in a conundrum where if he should, fix these problems one at a time or try to fix all of them, at the go, and whatever one he goes for, hopefully he gets the best out of this team.
Finally, is Arsenal still the team to beat?
Absolutely. I mean, in the last couple of weeks, you look at the points gap between Arsenal and Chelsea. You look at the way they've played. Even with City, you look at the way they've played. You look at you can't pinpoint any significant weakness. Yes, they're not scoring goals with reckless abandon, but also they're not conceding goals. And you look at all of that, and also the performances of City, the performances of Chelsea. Yes, I've talked about Chelsea. If they are in a position to take advantage of Arsenal slips up, but they're also a young team, and you can never tell, if they're going to turn up or not. But I think Arsenal are in a good position to go and win the league. Maybe the Champions League might be a different conversation, but the Premier League, absolutely.
One team that will struggle to win the league definitely is Real Madrid. At some point, Banky, they were 7 points ahead of Barcelona after that Clasico win. 3 consecutive league draws, and they are back to second, Barcelona top. The conversation in Spain is that there is a possibility Xabi Alonso might not last the entire season. Where has it gone wrong for Real Madrid? Because I think this is beyond not having a Toni Kroos or Modric type of player. This has gone beyond control. There's no cohesion either in midfield or in attack. Defensively, they are in 5s and 6s. What's the problem?
So I think it's simple. I think as much as you want to impose yourself as a manager, as much as you want to show up and feel like the boss as a manager, there are certain institutions where you should curtail that. You should reduce that to a bit. You should adapt, to your players. And Real Madrid is the pinnacle of that type of institution. Look at the players at his disposal. These are not players that you force, to do things. And the other week I was talking about willingness to, play for the manager, willingness to press. No matter how sound your tactical plan is, no matter how many matches you won, with your team pressing at Bayern Leverkusen, if you come to Real Madrid and you have players who are not willing to run, who are not willing to press, there's absolutely nothing you can do. And you look at Xabi Alonso, there's been a lot of talk about how he's the master of control, how sequence of plays at Bayern Leverkusen helped them to an unbeaten. Yes, all of that is true. But also, I think at Real Madrid is a different ball game. You have players who don't care that you're Xabi Alonso. At Bayern Leverkusen, the name Xabi Alonso would garner you respect. But at Real Madrid, you have players who have won 2 Champions League titles, players who have won 3 Champions League titles. A Kylian Mbappe, who is arguably the best player in the world, who has won the World Cup. So nobody really cares if you're Xabi Alonso, because in terms of reputation, they probably would go on to be bigger legends than you. So I think he has to adapt to his players. I think he has to understand that these are guys who, aside from being great players, are also like children, and you have to massage their ego to a certain extent if you want to get the best out of them. I think it's a case of miscommunication between the manager and some of his best players, Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo, Valverde. I think these are guys who are not motivated, to play for the manager. I think he has to somewhat, communicate with them, understand that he's dealing with a group of, proud, boys, and you have to adapt to them. Do not try to show up and try to be the boss. Be like them. Like we saw in Bayer Leverkusen, dress up for training and try to play with them. Try to make them feel like you are one of them. And right now, I think they are seeing him as an enemy. Maybe not an enemy per se, but they are seeing him as someone who is not involved with the team. And if you had that type of situation, results like this are bound to happen.
Not so much of a problem for their Madrid neighbors, Atletico Madrid, who, people are not giving them any chance to win the title. Which I think is rubbish. Honestly, I think because you look at the amount of money they've spent in the last season. Look at the players they've brought in. I think and the fact that Simeone has been there for a very long time. I think it is time to start considering they should be entitled to conversations. Because they should be challenging. And I think he's getting away with a lot. And yes, Simeone is the reason why they're even in this position in the first place. But I also believe that this current iteration of Atletico Madrid in 2025 should be in conversation in winning the La Liga, regardless of whatever it is. Right now, they've spent more money than Barcelona. I think if you try to do an 11v11, I don't think Barcelona, have significantly better players than Atletico. You can maybe Real Madrid is a different ball game, but you can clearly see there's a disconnect between Real Madrid and a new manager trying to adapt. So this is the perfect situation, for them to take advantage of it. And yes, you are still seeing people making excuses, for Diego Simeone. Yes, he's a legend. Yes, got into two Champions League final, won 2 La Liga titles, won a couple of Europa League titles, but also that does not, change the fact that they should be challenging, for the title. They should have challenged for the title last season, and they should, be one of the names in terms of the La Liga title this season. And in the Italian Serie A, finally, Banchi, nobody seems to want to take charge. Today you have Roma, the next time it is Milan, the next time you pop up it's Inter Milan, the other week is Napoli. Is this going to be the recurring theme till the final weeks of the season?
I think we'll see it for a large part of the season, up until probably February, and that's when games come in thick and fast, especially for teams that are in Europe. Roma, who are in the Europa League, Napoli might crash out of the group stage of the Champions League. Inter also might, go a bit further in the Champions League. So I think that's when you start to see a significant gap, between probably the top 3 and the rest. Roma lost to Napoli, have lost to Inter Milan. You look at all of that, and you'd want to think that they are not going to be able to sustain, a title race. But for Milan, no European obligation, winning some of the big teams, in the Serie A, aside from Juventus, where Pulisic had a brain fart with the penalty. So you look at all of that, and you also look at Inter Milan. Yes, I've criticized Christian Kivu, but also you look at the performances he has churned out. He has lost to a couple of big teams. Maybe you might criticize him after this Champions League run, because their next couple of games are also against the bigger teams in the Champions League. But when it comes to the smaller teams, he has dispatched them with relative ease. So it's shaping up to be an exciting Serie A race. But I still have you have your English bias, I have my Milan bias. So AC Milan should be winning that one.
All right, let's go to the short break. When we return, there's more on the other side. Rivers United, 2 losses in 2 games in the CAF Champions League. All right, welcome back from that short break. It's still Sports Pizza. We're headed straight to the fast-paced world of Formula One. Out there in Qatar, Max Verstappen decided to take the title race to the final day of the season. And what a performance it was. For McLaren, I'm sure they're licking their wounds, because it was a poor strategy not to pit after the safety car was called. And from then on, the moment Verstappen took the lead, it was one-way traffic. 12 points separates Lando Norris from Max Verstappen, and a further 4 points behind is a certain Oscar Piastri. Abu Dhabi is the next race. How do you see this playing out?
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. And like I said, the last time we were here also, if there's any driver who you shouldn't rule out, from overturning all of that deficit, it's definitely Max Verstappen. You look at his reputation as someone who, whenever his back is against the wall, he tends to, pull out all stops. He's the master of taking risk, and you keep on seeing that, in this title running. Like I said, he might not have the best of cars. He might not, his car might not be up there, with McLaren. Although there can be arguments that the gap is not as significant as it was, as we made it, as it seemed, earlier this season. But you can clearly see that he has gradually grown into the season. Yes, he made it difficult for himself. But you look at Max Verstappen, he's the best driver on the grid, and I don't think, if Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri, if they make a mistake, if they slip up, or whatever strategy that they would, try to utilize in Abu Dhabi, if it's not up to scratch, if it's not entirely perfect, you definitely know that he would take advantage of it and go on to win the title.
A week from now, Banky, when we return back on set, who will be the 2025 F1 Drivers' Champion? I
still think it will be one of the McLaren boys. I think you look at Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. I think right now, McLaren, they have been forced into a decision because of how small the margins are. I think all of their strategy would be ensuring that Lando Norris goes on to win the title. Is the one with the highest amount of points gap with Max Verstappen. So I think whatever strategy they will be assuming, in the next race would be catered, to ensuring that Lando Norris consolidates, on that 12 point. It does not have to be spectacular. It does not have to, pull out all stops. He does not have to take too many risks. All he has to do is to ensure
he needs to finish third.
Yes, third. All he has to do is finish on the podium.
Finish on the
once
podium,
he finishes on the podium, then the title race is done and he is the world champion. So I think they still have enough, to go on and consolidating on what we've seen so far this season. It would be sad to see them not go on to win the title, especially the excitement, especially what they've done, at the start of the season. At the start of the season, they were blowing everybody away, especially Oscar Piastri. I absolutely thought at some point he was the best driver on the grid. Maybe he had the better car, but what he was doing, the way he was easing past opponents, even in qualifying, you look at what Oscar Piastri has done, but I think mentally he couldn't, keep up with pace, with that tag of being favorite. So I think, it's still going to be one of the McLaren boys. Hopefully, it's going to be Lando Norris.
All three drivers in the title race have won 7 races each. And who will come out top in Abu Dhabi this weekend? Quickly back home, Rivers United faced RS Berkane in the CAF Champions League. They were leading up until the 7th minute of added time. They lost their head, ended up losing the game. 2 losses in 2 games. Quickly, Banky, no way out for them.
No way out. Even before they kicked the ball, I don't think, I didn't think that they'll qualify. You look at RS Berkane, you look at Pyramids, the gap between these guys and Rivers United is huge. I had to use the word lacuna, the last time because it's a significant gap. You look at Rivers United, yes, they're one of the best teams in the Premier League. Yes, they're one of the better run teams, in the Premier League. But in terms of continental success, in terms of being competitive, continental on the continents, I don't think they're up to scratch with the North Africans generally.
All right, there's plenty to talk about when it comes to African football, but time will not permit us today. Don't forget, the month of December is big because the African Cup of Nations will take place in Morocco starting on the 21st of December. You get all of the exclusives on Sports Pizza. Let's go on a break. We'll give you a video for the week. When we return, we'll wrap up the show with the Tipsters Corner. Welcome back. That was the Qatar Grand Prix where those cars, they run at about 250 miles per hour. As much as I enjoy driving, I don't think I want to experience that type of pace.
So when people say, "Oh, I know how to drive, I can do it for long," but it is very, very
that's
different.
Another level of driving.
Very, very different. The car is as light as the coats that we're putting on right now. So any contact, it disintegrates, and once it disintegrates, the driver life is at risk. So Formula One is not.
And there's a lot of mathematics.
Exactly, a lot of physics, a lot of mathematics,
calculations. These drivers are geometry.
You look at all of this, and there's a lot that goes into a Formula One car or a Formula One race.
A lot.
I don't see myself becoming a Formula One driver.
All right, it's time for our Tipsters Corner. We have 2 games this weekend, one in England, one in Italy. Let's start with the Italian game where Napoli host Juventus?
Yeah, for Napoli against Juventus, I think Napoli have done well against the bigger teams this season. Lost to Milan, although defeated Inter Milan, defeated Roma. Also, you look at Conte, like I said last weekend, he has stumbled upon his solution with Neres and Yolang. Also, Rasmus Højlund is back. He's not back to scoring goals, but you can clearly see the presence, that he has added, to that front line. And their goal scoring problem seems to be a thing of the past now. And against the Juventus team, who I'm not really looked all that. Spalletti have come in, but in terms of quality, I still think they lack that bit of quality. Openda and Jonathan David are up and running. They scored against Bodo Glimt in the Champions League. But still, you still have to rely heavily on the Vlahovic. But I still think this is a game where Napoli should be taking something off. A double chance Napoli and on a 4.5 seems like something. Or you can go Napoli 1 to 3 goals. Multi-goal option for Napoli. So these are options that you can go for in that particular encounter.
Finally, because we're running out of time, Aston Villa versus Arsenal.
Now this is tricky. Arsenal have always struggled, away at Villa Park, but I think this season will be quite different. I think a double chance Arsenal also. I don't think you should be bold enough to go for a straight win. Villa, after their bubble at the start of the season, seems to have gotten their act together. But yeah,
great run of
Arsenal double chance over 1.5 also might be something that you might want to go for. Arsenal have struggled. I've not kept a clean sheet in their last 4 games, so you fancy Villa chances of at least picking a goal in that particular encounter. So over 1.5. Arsenal double chance. Second half over 0.5 also seems like something you can get a lot of value from if you're looking to make an ACA.
All right, that's the much we can take on the show. Remember, we are not responsible for any bet loss. We just give you expert analysis on the likely outcome of these games. We have no influence over these games. We just give you our opinion, and we ensure that you do diligence and bet responsibly. You have to be 18 years and above. That is the message on the show. We need to leave right now. I'm happy. The month of December is my bet month, and I hope Manchester United will make me happy this month.
I know they won't, so don't hold your breath.
Thank you very much, Banky, for being around.
It's always good to be here, Edwin. And from me to our audience, have yourself a lovely, lovely week.
Do have a fantastic weekend. God bless you.